Law and order. Where there is no law, there is disorder. Law and order. That's all it means. If you want order in your life, you must live by law. If you look across our world today, where there is chaos, destruction, confusion, it is because the law of God or the law of the universe are not being applied. Hosea chapter 4, verses 6 says, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge." What kind of knowledge? The knowledge of knowing God's law and applying them. In our world today, there is, as far as we know, there is about 6 laws that govern the universe. And 4 of them are God's law. And 2 of them are man law. And as you can imagine, 80% of our world basically follow man law. And that's why we are in the way we are in our world today. So the question is, why would you want to know all these laws? Why do you need to know them? Why would you want to know the difference between God law and man law? The reason would be so you can live wisely, so you can avoid deception and confusion. Because the enemy of God works through deception, distraction, and he look for your area of ignorance. Whatever you don't know, the area that you're not aware of, the area that you don't have knowledge about, then he will get you and he will destroy you. That's why you see some nations, some countries, some people are suffering, because the enemy of God has find out and pinpoint the area of ignorance, their blind spot, and he used that ignorance to destroy us. Yes, we live in exile. We live almost like we live in a lion den with a lion. Bad thing will happen. We can't stop it. But the Bible says, know the truth, and the truth will set you free. When you understand the principle of God's law, how things work in life, you will be free within the middle of the lion den. You will live representing and you will live out the promises of God until the day we leave this temporary setting. So what are these laws? These laws are physical law, natural law, moral law, divine law, and legislative law and traditional law. Legislative law and traditional law are man-made law. Physical law, natural law, moral law, and divine law are God-made. Physical law is a law that God basically built into the universe. They govern the way the creation works. Nothing you and I can do about it. Whether we like it or whether we don't, these are inbuilt law, principle that run our universe. Physical law that govern the matters. For example, gravity, thermodynamic, motion, cause and effect, time and space. We are confined by time and space. And space is our body. We cannot just fly out of outer space. So we are confined by space and time. Time will, you hear people say, time will catch up with them. If you're doing craziness, they always say, time will catch up with you because we are confined with time. Gravity, on the other end, if you try to jump off a building, gravity will deal with you. Gravity doesn't care whether you are rich or you are poor, whether you know God or not, because faith that cannot cancel God's physical law. So if you jump, expect the gravity to deal with you, because what goes up must come down. Even Satan, when he tempted Jesus in the wilderness, he said, if you are a son of God, throw yourself down, for it's written that he will command his angel to lift you up so you don't hurt your foot. And what Jesus said? Jesus said, you cannot put the Lord your God in test. You cannot test God. What he was saying is, God created this physical universe with law that even God himself cannot violate. Jesus could have done that and saved himself, but he did not want to test God's law. Today we have people praying for good health, yet they are violating and ignoring physical law of sleep, diet, proper diet, water, and exercise. These are law. Your body must function, must sleep, and must drink water and exercise, so God can answer you. If you want God, in the scripture, we are encouraged to pray for healing and for miracle. But when you understand how God works, how his universe works, then you can pray with confidence, knowing that I'm doing what physical universe demand of me. I'm respecting physical universe. I'm not violating them. I'm making sure I'm resting. I'm making sure I'm eating properly. There's a list of things that God said we should not eat, but we violate them all the time. Yet we ask God to violate his own principle, his own physical law to do miracle. Yes, he does miracle, but within the confine of his physical law. The second law is natural law. Natural law are laws that basically given life. We see this kind of law in nature, and we also see them in the human experience. Galatians chapter 6, verse 7 says, whatever a man sow, the man reap. Whatever you put out is what you will get back. You get what you sow. If I plant a corn, I will get corn. I cannot plant corn and expect onion. If I sow kindness, often I will receive kindness. But if I plant chaos, often, by all means, I will get back chaos. And this is a powerful it's a powerful knowledge. Why? Look at our world today. We have people trying to mistreat other people, sowing hatred, sowing discord and confusion, and fail to understand the natural principle that whatever you put out, you will get it back. It's because of area of ignorance. The enemy of God has figured out we are so ignorant, we don't even understand simple thing as natural law. And so, if you are abusing, if you are creating and sowing something, expect it to come back. You cannot harvest something you did not plant. This is a natural law. In nature, work, even today, some people get confused. If you are born in this world as a man, by nature, you're a man. You can try to reject that. You can deny it, but you are violating natural law. That is something people need to think about. because there's a natural law that we cannot disagree with. You cannot make them up. Those are natural law. And God expects us to obey them, understand them, and follow them for our well-being, for our benefit. The third law is moral law. Moral law is a law that God basically written in our heart. Romans chapter 2 verses 15 says, God have written right and wrong in human hearts, and our conscience is witness. If you go across the world, moral law are law that basically put into they are built in. God placed them in our heart, in our conscience. That's why if you go across the world right now, the question of murder, most people, most culture know murder is wrong. Almost everybody know lying is wrong. Deception is wrong. We can deny it. We can ignore our own conscience, but God built it in. God will judge you God will judge you, judge everybody through our conscience. Whatever He revealed to you, you will be judged on it. Moral law is powerful because it speaks to us. You don't need to be a rocket scientist. God has written in us that lying is not good, that murder is bad. So we are agreed. That's a God law speaking to us, moral law. And then we have the divine law. The divine law are God law that He gave humanity. In the book of Exodus chapter 20, God has given us the 10 commandments. The 10 commandments are God transcript character. The 10 commandments are a transcript of God character. God character that He know we possess. God has unique attributes that are only unique to Him. And then He also have attributes that He share with us. And 10 commandments are a glimpse of God character, God justice, and God fairness that we possess. There's the five attributes that we don't share with God are: God is transcendent, He's above and beyond everything, He lives in eternity, there's no beginning and no end for Him. God is omnipotent, God is so powerful, death and life is in His hand. The power He has, He doesn't share with no one. That's unique to Him. God is everywhere. God is omnipresent. He's everywhere. He can be in Africa, He can be anywhere at the same time. We don't have that ability. Even Satan doesn't have that ability. Even angels don't. Only God alone, because God is omnipresent. God is also omniscient. He knows everything there is to know. Everything. None of us have that ability. That's unique to Him. God is also eminence. That means He's involved and in tune with everything He created. I mean, we can call Him Haba because of that. So such knowledge is so powerful to know that God is this different, but He also have characteristics that He shared with us, such as love, mercy, justice. We are capable of that. Those are the revealed characteristics of God through the 10 commandments. So the divine law are God transcript of who He is. And if you don't abide by God's divine law, you basically rejecting God's will. And God divine law also encompass moral law, such as thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not lie. Those are moral law that God repeat. He written them in our heart. He also put them in writing as 10 commandments that we should not kill, we should not lie, we should not deceive other people. And so the 10 commandments are God's authority. Those are the absolute way to know what God demands of us. The legislative law, which are man law, are law that are basically put together by government, by institution of this world to help regulate civil society. They are not wrong in themselves, but legislative law they not always constant. What is legal today can be illegal tomorrow because man keeps changing. But legislative law that are modeled after Ten Commandments are good law. The great United States from the beginning, they kind of model most of their law through the Ten Commandments, and most countries in the world follow suit. But when these laws are in conflict with God's law, we are required to obey God's law. We are required to obey God's divine law. It should be the supreme. And even our moral law should supersede legislative law that are outlined with God's will. Legislative law are law basically that every country put in place, such as speed limit, tax law. Those are laws that the government put in place. And some of them are wild and crazy. Then we have the traditional law. Traditional law are customs that are passed down from generation to generation. They can be good if they align themselves with God's law. But tradition can be very dangerous because they can hold you hostage, almost like they put you in prison. Some nation, some society, some tribe limit themselves in tradition, custom, belief system that basically hinder them from seeing God clearly. Traditional law can be dangerous. You know, I come from a tribe. When I was young, for a woman to bring food to men or to a man, she has to kneel, sometimes as far away, and come on her knees to bring the food. If she tried to do it any other way, she would be punished and scolded. That is an example of a traditional law that basically put people hostage. As a kid, I used to think about it. I'm like, what's the point of this? Because I used to see my mom do that, bringing food to my father. That's a traditional law. And there's a lot of them out there today that hold people hostage. But the Bible says, know the truth, and the truth will set you free. And what is the truth? Truth is God's word. Any truth that doesn't align with God's word is a prison. It keeps you hostage. It robs you of life. It takes away your freedom. The best way to live in exile in this time-bound world is to follow the truth, is to know the truth. So because when you know the truth, you will be set free. Free from what? Free from man law. Free. Legislative law are law that we need to follow. I live in this country, I need to follow legislative law, legal law of this country. But there's a difference between a legal law and a moral law. And there's a difference between legal law and God's divine law. And if you are confronted, which all of us will be confronted, what order should you respond? What law should supersede? What law should you follow as a supreme law in your life? The divine law should be number one as a child of God. The divine law, the Ten Commandments, should regulate and dictate how you make decisions. Second should be moral law. Your conscience. They always say, both your conscience, because your conscience will judge you. Your conscience. And the conscience also You got to be careful with conscience, because conscience can be hijacked by Satan. And that's why you see people who justify killing to be okay. Some people even justify lying and stealing, deception. Some people even consider being deception or corrupt as being genius, being smart. So the order should be God divine law, number one. Moral law should follow, right? Legislative law should be third, because wherever you live, you need to follow the law of the land. Romans chapter 13 talk about that, because laws are there to regulate a country. If you live in a country, you should obey their law. But if that law contradicts God's law, we are commanded to obey God over man. Peter made that statement in Acts chapter 5, verses 9, I think, or 29, where he says, we rather obey God than to obey man. Traditional law, you must only abide to traditional law if it aligns with truth. I mean, we don't supposed to disregard tradition, but we have to be mindful, because tradition can hold you hostage, can put you in prison, and you can even try to think tradition is. Some people, they actually, take tradition over the divine law of God, and we need to be careful of that. The best way to live is to know the truth, and the truth will set you free. To summarize this, we have 6 laws. Physical law are God's law that he put into the universe. They govern the earth. Those are creation law. Nothing you and I can do about it. And we have a lot of smart people in our world today who basically understand this physical law. That's why we can fly without falling from the sky. That's why there's predictable pattern. Gravity is predictable. Space is predictable. That's why our technology is getting even better, because they understand natural physical law. They just harness them, and that's power. Physical law are there, natural law are there. Nobody can change them. We can fight. Some people can try to change the way God made them. A male wanting to be a woman, they are just fighting against natural law. And it's tragic, because any action has consequences. Physical law, natural law, you better know them, because there's nothing you can do. They will break you if you try to ignore them. Then divine law, which is the God 10 commandment, the God characteristic, is how we see where it goes wrong. It's like a mirror. If you look at them every day, you can tell, oh wow, these are some of the most powerful law there is on earth, the 10 commandments. They will set you free. Legislative law, yes, by all means, know the law of the land and follow them accordingly. But when they do clash with the principle of God's word, we are commanded by all means that we obey God over man. I rather fear God that will kill the body and soul together than man who will just kill my physical. One of the strength, God has given us this power. We do have a power to take life. You know that on earth. Temporarily. But we shouldn't be afraid of them, because our soul, that second death, is what you should be afraid of. Yes, you should obey the law of the land. We are commanded. Give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and what to God, to God. And yourself, you got to give yourself to God. Traditional law are there to enhance life if it's within alignment of God's will. If they're not, rebel from them. I mean, I'm not saying you should rebel and fight chaos. No, just walk away from it. If it doesn't bring you closer to God, if it doesn't put a seal of approval on God's word, because tradition can be hostage. There's a lot of etiquette, social etiquette, that putting people and limit people, take away people's freedom for the sake of culture. Jesus had the issue with Pharisees in Mark chapter 7, where he said, "You guys have deny and remove God's law and put your tradition above God's law." It happened every day. We have certain society, and they wonder why things don't go right, because we are violating God's law. We are violating His physical and natural law purposely. And then we are refusing to align ourselves with His will, which is His divine 10 Commandments. And then people don't want to learn the law of the land, and so they can live properly. Know the truth, and the truth will set you free. God bless you.